Welcome to November's live stream. This is a once a month public stream that I do where I invite the public in. I used to do these all the time, every week, until it became non-feasible for me to do that. So I've tried to do it once a month, at least once a month, so that you, the general public, can come in and ask me any question about the grammar that you want. It's an open forum. Go ahead and I just ask that you be polite. Don't use foul language. Don't troll. And feel free to ask whatever you want. I have a couple things lined up that I'm going to talk about in case there are no questions, which, for whatever reason, usually there aren't very many questions. Um, Perhaps because people aren't quite sure what to ask, or maybe they're afraid to speak up. But, I mean, this is the internet, ladies and gentlemen. Most of you, I would have to say, most of you out there who are viewing probably don't even use your correct name as your channel name on YouTube. So no one knows who you are anyways, probably. So why be afraid to step up and say anything? All right. So the first thing I'm going to talk about while we wait on questions is I had a long time student, well, former student of mine, long time. Now we're saying like 19 to 20, 20, 21, about 3 years, 2.5, 3 years. This fellow has been an on and off student of mine. Uh, from the beginning, they wanted to, their whole volition behind learning correct sentence structure was to learn it to help others, which is a very admirable volition, right? You wanted to learn it to help others. They didn't really have any concrete reason to learn it for themselves other than to help others. And then they wanted to create their own correct sentence structure, document, contract, postal vessel, court, venue. They wanted to do that for 3 years now, 2.5, 3 years. They've been wanting to do this, but they never did it. And they never got closure on the grammar. They would start the workshops, stop them, start again, stop them. I would schedule workshops. They would no call, no show. It was very sort of haphazard. During this time, we did develop a friendship. There is, of course, separation between friendship and correct sentence structure, doing workshops and business and things like that. In any case, it kind of turned out negative in a way, simply because they started not showing up to the workshops, and I sort of called them to the carpet for it, and they got a little, I guess, upset about it. But they are a member of this channel right now. And if they're watching right now, I hope they are. I'm not going to say their name. But they left a comment that was interesting. I'll be responding to it in next week's comments video, I think, but I'm going to address it right here. They asked, why learn correct sentence structure? And that they personally found it boring, which brought a little smile to my face. Because anyone that tells me that they find something boring tells me about them, like their conditioned state of their psychology. Because I do not participate, personally, I don't participate with the concept of boredom. There is no such thing. Life is wonderful and exciting, and there's many things to do at any given point in any day. There's no boredom. I teach my children boredom is basically laziness. If you say you're bored, then that means that you think the world owes you something, that the earth owes you entertainment somehow. So this person saying that correct sentence structure is boring basically means that they think that it should entertain them. It has a responsibility to entertain them or something, which I found hilarious. But to get on to the main crux of the matter, they said, why learn correct sentence structure? And I could only think in my head, wow, this individual has been a student of mine on and off for 2.5, 3 years. And at this point, after all that time, they're still asking why learn correct sentence structure. So anyone who asks that question, there are multiple videos on this channel talking about various reasons why someone would want to learn it. But I'm never going to tell anybody that they should or shouldn't do anything. I'm not selling the grammar because the grammar's all here on this channel for free in over 400 videos. Not selling anything. You just take your time to come here and view them. You can come here to this channel. You don't even have to subscribe. You don't even have to like any of the videos. Just watch them and you'll get all the knowledge. That's my gift to the world. Of course, I appreciate subscriptions and likes and things like that, and memberships, and I also appreciate workshops and donations. But it's not necessary to learn the grammar because it's all here for free on this channel. So I'm never going to tell anyone what they should or shouldn't do, why they should learn the grammar. That's up to each individual. And if someone who has been sort of a dilettante by my perception, on and off studying for 2.5, 3 years, is asking why learn the grammar, then that brings me back to what I said at the beginning. They had no reason to learn the grammar other than they wanted to help others. So if you don't have a reason to learn the grammar, then you're probably not going to learn it. You're probably not going to get closure on it. You're not galvanized or motivated to do that. You have to have a reason. You have to be motivated to do it. For example, someone asked me, what was your motivation, Jason, for learning this grammar? It's very simple. I was feeling trapped by the system. I didn't like the system. I didn't like what was going on. I didn't like being taken advantage of, feeling a sense of chaos or not having a sense of autonomy in my own life biosphere. So I was trying to find ways to gain control, and I used the word control at the time, of my construct. And I came across correct sentence structure. I was studying common law, UCC codes, state, national, sovereign, gobbledygook, whatever, all that stuff. And then I came across David-Wynn Miller in correct sentence structure. And then when I heard him describe what it was, and I saw him do an example of what it was, it clicked in my brain. Wow. If this is true, then I don't have to know common law or anything like that. All I have to know is quantum grammar. And then I can apply that across the board if it's true. So the only way to find out if something is true is to do your own research, do your own study, put your own blood, sweat, and tears into it. What you put in is what you get out. That's exactly what I did. I put in like 12 to 15 hours a day studying every single day in, day out, listening to MP3s, watching videos. I did it. I did that for almost a year. So that was my reason for learning it, because I wanted to gain stewardship of my own construct and my own vessel and my contracts. That was my main reason for doing it. And so I was able to get closure on it in, I guess, what would now be considered a relatively short period of time. I was able to use it after about 1,000 hours of study. And I was very blessed to have, in my perception, the best tutor on the planet, Raven Farhad Tahiti, F for Rin. And before people start asking me about him, I cannot speak for him, will not speak for him, and I will not give out any contact information about him. He's completely in the private and confidential as far as I know, and really has no volition to have anything to do with the politicking of this grammar, so to speak. Um, Whereas I'm sort of in the middle of it, in a sense, because I'm a public figure on YouTube. I'm here in the public. You see my face, you know my name. You can contact me at my email address. I'm out here doing this. I'm in the middle of the politics, so and I don't really mind it. I'll do it until such time as I do mind it, and then I'll stop, and I'll go completely into the confidential. Um, but as long as I see value in doing this and helping people and things like that, then I'll continue to do it. So to go bring back to the question of why learn correct sentence structure and the individual it came from, well, you have to have a reason. And if you don't, then you're not going to learn it. And there's no better proof of that than this individual that I just told you about, who has been studying on and off for 2.5 to 3 years, and they still are nowhere near closure on the grammar. They still don't understand how to use it. They have never done a document contract postal vessel court venue, although I've told them on numerous occasions, you have the knowledge to do it. You can just do it. You have the knowledge. Because at times they would have the knowledge, they'd be ready, and then they'd stop. And then they'd contact me a couple months later and say, "Hey, I'm ready to begin studying again." And it was like starting over from ground zero. Like they lost everything that they had gained. And this happened more than once with this individual. And it's like I always say, correct sentence structure is like walking up a down escalator. If you're doing anything except going forward, you're going down. So you have to keep going with it or you lose it. That's just, I don't know, until it clicks. And then once it clicks, then it's like riding a bicycle and you don't lose it. Okay, the next thing I was going to talk about is I'm thinking about creating a, this is funny, a quantum grammar talk show. I've had offers from various individuals to be a guest on their podcasts and their talk shows, so to speak. But they've always been interested in like personal things about me, like my own life story and my own successes, defeats, and especially they want to know how I feel about full colon full colon so hyphen so colon so. They want to know how I feel about this person or that person or whatever, and they just want to know about the drama. And I don't really want to get involved in that. I want to bring the grammar, which is the main thing. That's what I want to concentrate on. And so that's why I have never gone on any of those shows. So I thought, well, why don't I just create my own? And then I'll bring on people who how quantum grammar has affected their lives, whether they're a beginner, an intermediate, or whether they feel they've been, whether they've been using it successfully or theoretically how they think it could benefit them, what they, just things like that. I'll give it a shot. I know there's a very short list of guests for such a thing, but hopefully, if it gets rolling, those guests will increase. And of course, most of those guests will probably be my students, because these, the students that are serious about it are actually out there doing stuff with it. They're actually going to the post office. They're actually having their own postal court. They're actually going into those foreign vessels in dry dock and doing things like that. They're actually stopping the government from forcing them to be mandated to do certain medical procedures and so on and so forth. If I can get those people on as guests, that'd be great. Best case scenario, hopefully they will credential themselves, but I understand why some individuals would not want to do that and they'd want to remain in the private. Of course, I would never force anyone to do anything, but that's on the table. The talk show is on the table. Uh, See how that turns out. Even if I only do it like quarterly, like 4 talk shows in a year, it would still be cool to have people on here who, because I know people and communicate with people who actually were or are, well, I would say were friends with David-WYNN Miller and Russell J. Gould back in the day, like 10, 15 years ago. I communicate with people all over the place. I have a lot of contacts, a lot of connections, and hopefully I'll be able to bring some of those forward onto the show, whether they credential themselves or not. It'll still be interesting to hear their stories. Also, I've been, as everyone probably who watches this channel for more than a year or so knows, I've been working on a correct sentence structure textbook. Now, this textbook, of course, is nowhere near being complete because I just don't have the now space to work on it, because I have to concentrate on feeding my family and keeping a roof over my head and so on and so forth. And writing a textbook doesn't accomplish any of that. So if any of you individuals out there want to fund me or start a GoFundMe or something and if you're that interested in me in creating a textbook that everyone can use, by all means, contact me, set something up. I'm open to anything, but I digress. So I've been creating this textbook, and then I began thinking, well, why not create an online correct sentence structure, communication, parse, syntax, grammar college where there would actually be like on a what are some of the platforms like a Substack platform or something like that, where just like any other college or class, you of course there's a paywall, but then you would have access to taking a class and it would be online. It wouldn't be one on one like me right now with you across from me on a video screen or across from me at my desk here and I'm teaching you, using the board. It wouldn't be like that. It would be like watching videos and things like that I specifically designed for the course. And some people expressed interest in that. So it would be like a correct sentence structure college. Now I do have a name for it. I think it's a really cool name. Definitely not going to share it because of, well, I've come up with ideas and people have taken the ideas. Like for example, a couple years ago when I started calling the quantum domain, I started calling it the quantum community, the quantum grammar community. And then, of course, the Red Thumb Club all of a sudden revenued themselves and called themselves the quantum community. So then I stopped using that term because they took it. But was first with it. First in line, first in time, as you know who says. And then I came out with the syntax news show. I did a couple weeks of that, and then all of a sudden, what happened? Same people, the Red Thumb Club, the quantum community, and now there's a syntax learning center. The same group of people just revenued. Then they started doing a syntax news show. So I'm not going to share the name because I definitely don't want people taking that material until I'm ready to put it out there. Uh, so that's exciting. I think both of those things are exciting. Yes, Mike, thank you very much. I'm excited by it too. I think it's a pretty cool idea. Okay, the last thing I'm going to talk about is word games. Uh, a lot of people find it difficult to grasp the psychology of the grammar because they're so used to word games. The fiction, when the fiction comes, they come with word games. They come with avoidance of logic. Logic is your friend. I say this over and over again. Logic is critical to having success with correct sentence structure, along with correct volition and all that stuff. The three principles: honor, grace, peace, neutrality, rule one, rule equal. Logic is a huge part of that. Being a logical thinker, thinking without looking at a situation without emotion, right? And then pulling back. And then, of course, you're always going to feel some sort of way about it. Then you can use that feeling to create sort of a, dare I say, moral compass on how to go with the situation. But you always have to keep in mind rule one, rule equal, peace, neutrality, honor, grace. So the thing I'm getting at here is the peace and neutrality part. That's why I say you look at it logically, that's being peaceful and neutral. That's being neutral. Logic is neutral. Facts are neutral. There's no good or bad about it. It's how you use them that determine whether it's good or bad. It's how you use those facts. Someone can use facts with a malicious intent. You see it all the time where someone will say something that is 100% true and say it in a malicious way because they know it's going to hurt the feelings of someone else. So they use the truth as a weapon. And then when that other individual gets hurt and something happens, like they make some sort of rash decision based upon this truth that was just told to them, then the person that told them will say, well, I'm just telling the truth, as if they didn't know that they were hurting that person with the truth, which is malicious volition. And you can use the truth for malicious volition, especially with someone who is not logically centered and they're more emotionally centered. I mean, the worst case scenario is I've seen people, unfortunately, end their own lives because someone used the truth as a weapon against them. It's not cool, ladies and gentlemen, to do that. It's not. And I personally don't do that. I'm with the volition of not doing that. So these are word games. The fiction does this. The fiction will use anything they can to get an edge on you, to get you off your square. Now, in a normal conversation with those three principles, honor, grace, peace, neutrality, rule one, rule equal, someone may ask you something. Now, keep in mind, no one's here to screw anybody over. We're all here to be understood. We're over, however you want people want to say it, whether you want to say understood, overstood, stood, cognized, comprehend, whatever. We're all here to comprehend one another. No one's here to screw anybody over. So someone asks a question. Why did you cross the street, Jason? And in etiquette, honor, grace, peace, neutrality, rule one, rule equal, etiquette would dictate that I would say the reason I crossed the street. Well, because I wanted to go to the other side, right? So I answered the question. Now we can move on with the next question or next part of the conversation. Word games would be when someone asks me a question, Jason, why did you cross the street? And then I say, well, why not? Now begins a word game. I'm answering a question with a question, and that is a violation of the etiquette, of the procedure of conversation, because now I'm starting to I can never say that word. I'm starting to obfuscate. I know the word I'm trying to use here. I'm purposely trying to confuse the individual by answering a question with a question. I'm making things difficult for them. Now, keep in mind the terms and conditions of the conversation. I said that we're here to comprehend one another. We're not here to screw one another over, so we're here to make progress in the conversation. Why would I do that? Why would I answer a question with a question? Why would I play a word game with a friend? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Now, in the fiction does that. The fiction will play word games with you, will try to make you, basically, it will test your patience. You know, the BS meter will keep going up, 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 and up. And it will wear you down. There's no doubt about it with the word games. Uh, Another word game would be what I call pre-qualifiers. I just had someone send me an email the other day, and they had a bunch of questions in the email. Uh, and I answered the questions, and then they sent another email asking more questions, and they said, sorry for all the questions. And then they kept asking the questions. So that tells me that they weren't sorry for the questions because they can continue to ask the questions. Why would you say you're sorry? Or like the thing where you say, with all due respect, and then you insult someone. When you say, with all due respect, and then you say something insulting to the person, you like negate what you're saying. There is no respect because you just disrespected them. Or the word but, like but, when someone says, you know, I really like that Jason guy, but, and then they'll say something ignorant. They'll make some sort of insult or critique. You know what I'm talking about. These are word games. And these are things that have no place in correct sentence structure, communication, parsing, syntax, grammar. They have no place. And that's what drew me to it was that it's all about the facts. It's all about putting your claim down on paper, positioning it with correct position, loadial, fact sequencing with the verb in the correct place, mathematically certified, and then you transship it out. And it's very simple with closure. Works like a charm every single time. Every single time. Let's see, I've gone about a half hour on this live stream, and this is your public live stream. So this is your chance to ask questions, public. If you want to ask a question, ask it because I'm going to be shutting this down in a couple minutes here. So go ahead and ask what you want to ask. If you appreciate this channel, go ahead and I'm looking down at my. Hold on a minute. Let me look at my chat. All right, at the bottom of the chat there's like a little $sign thingy in the right-hand lower starboard side corner. You can click that and send a super thanks. And I very much appreciate anybody who supports this channel. Anybody who subscribes, likes, sends super chats, super thanks, super stickers, uh, whoever gets a membership, and of course, whoever emails me at jasonmatthewg17@gmail.com and applies for a workshop. Those are the ones that I really concentrate on because those are the ones that I know are serious. And as I shared before, this year's been probably the best year for teaching for me. I've had more people get closure on the grammar this year than any year previous. I've had people on average get closure in like 3, 4 workshops, sometimes 5, 6. I had one guy get closure on it actually, I've had 2 people get closure on the grammar in one workshop. One of them was a physics professor, a professor of physics at a university, and I'm not gonna say who the other one was, but, yeah, so I think the over 400 videos on this channel have really produced a positive performance effect in that it provides free data for people who want to learn this. It's not classified, it's all out there for the public. And they can dive in and study anytime they want at their own leisure. Feel free to ask me any questions, grammar questions, anything you want to know about correct sentence structure. To go back to what I was saying at the beginning about the individual whose reason for learning it or wanting to learn it, because they never learned it, but for wanting to learn it was to help other people. The only feasible way that would work is if you learned it enough to teach someone else, which is the amount of closure you have to have on it anyways to use it. You have to know it enough to teach someone else. That's how you can help other people. Because if you would actually start doing or accepting someone else's court case, I don't think the individual who said that has any grasp of how much work that entails. How much time, now space, and energy that requires to work on someone's case, someone else's case. That's why fiction attorneys charge what they charge. And if you're doing correct sentence structure, you're doing double the work because it's double, triple, quadruple the words on the documents, number one. And number two, it's a whole different set of mechanics and knowledge required. So the individual who said that they just want to help other people using the grammar, well, that's an admirable thing to say until you actually step in there and try and do it. Then I bet they'll have a different view of what they're saying. That's why I've done this for 5 years now and put all these videos on this channel so that people can learn it themselves if they want to. They don't have to come to me for workshops, they can just learn it here. But again, as I said, it's sort of a way to fast track your learning when you do the workshops. And I really haven't known anyone to ever learn this without having a teacher. You definitely have to have a teacher to sort of as the finishing school part of it. to finish off the training. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me on this live stream for the public. I think I might cut this down to every 2 months now because we there has not been one grammar question, which again, it's not shocking to me. Uh, if you do think of anything, go ahead and pop them in the comments field of any other video on here, and I'll address them in the comments video that I make every single week. Thank you for joining me, and I'll probably see you in January.